12 o'clock every Friday. Money matters, and doesn't it?
It does matter,
Money
that's for sure.
matters. Love that name. Will Chapman, no better person to speak to us from Brock Harcourt's Financial Services. Welcome.
Gentlemen, how are you? Both going well?
Yeah, fantastic. Perhaps you give us a bit of a market update and talk about the new credit licensing.
Yeah, well, we'll start with the market update. We're seeing at this stage that there aren't too many economic forecasters saying that rates are going to be going up in the absolute short term.
Good.
But that said, the market is slowly growing. And the finance market's been a really interesting one. We've been trying to tell people over and over again they must get their paperwork in order. Tax time at the moment, everybody's thinking about getting their taxes done for the 09-10 year. I'd strongly encourage you to get out there and get those done. The banks really are asking for as much information as they possibly can about people's finances, and that is putting a bit of a strain on the finance market at the moment. Obviously, the more ducks you have to get in the line, the more difficult it is, but go out there, get your pieces of paper, your income statements, your group certificates, all of that information in line and in ready for tax, and obviously that'll give you a better chance with your finances as well.
Fantastic. Well, that's really good advice. Credit licensing. Perhaps tell us a little bit about that. What is credit licensing? How does it affect the viewers?
Yeah, well, as of yesterday, the 1st of July, we've found the government's brought in some new regulation, and much like the real estate industry a couple of years ago went through its changes, at a national level there's a new credit licensing system, which means that now finance brokers, car finance people as well, or all aspects of the finance industry comes under a new credit licensing system. It's a great opportunity for our industry to ensure that the people of the highest integrity are being involved in the finance game. And of course it's very important for the consumers to understand that we're bound by a set of rules and regulations rather than having cowboys out there giving advice that's inappropriate.
So who issues the licensing? And I mean, is it OCBAR, for example? And if that's the case, do they have things like a fit and proper person before that they...
Well, it's ASIC actually that's in charge of the new regulation. And we...
ASIC?
ASIC, yeah, the Australian Securities Investment Commission. So we're required to register with them as essentially a credit advisor, and therefore, and anybody else who either refers finance business or does other forms of financing, car finance, personal lending, that type of thing as well, is required to have registered with ASIC. And then there's a series of guidelines that we're required to follow, which include a big part, which I won't go right into, but it's a responsible lending clause. So we've now got to make sure that the people that we're lending to understand what they're getting in for and understand that it's going to work for them, as opposed to us just saying, look, have I got the loan for you, and writing it down.
So does that mean you have to do a training course first, or can anyone just put their hand up? And I get back to that other comment about, if you've got a bad track history, for example, and like a bankrupt or something like that in the past, would they not get a licence?
Well, those people are already actually, the real fringe dwellers, I suppose, are already booted out by the Industry Association. Most of the banks now, in fact all of the lenders, registered lenders, are required to use somebody through an industry and have their own processes of integrity. So certainly it is a much more rigorous process that you need to go through. We've also found that it's really about the spirit of lending. If we can see that there's a reason why we shouldn't be lending to the customer, instead of just saying, well, we're just going to omit that aspect of it and in 2 years' time find that person's not able to afford it, we've now got to take that into consideration.
Fantastic. Well, everyone benefits from that, and that's great. So thank you very much indeed, Will, for coming in.
Integrity. It's very good.
Very good indeed. Will, if people want to get in touch with you, big fella, how do they?
Mobile phone 0411 454 656.